Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Woman to Woman TV show. This evening, we're talking about women in politics. Can women affect change in the way that our youth vote? That's the question. I think we can because I think we are the first teachers. And because we're the first teachers, we make the first impressions on our children. We make the first impressions on our families in totality. Our husbands, our male friends, our relatives. So we have to know the power of our being. And women are powerful spirits, and we can affect change. Because if we affect that change, we can now determine, who's going to be in office and whether that person is qualified or not according to our terms. Right. We have to take control.
With just 21 days from the election, it's important not only to vote, but to have a plan for how you're going to vote, because COVID will make this election unlike anything before it. Stick around for information that'll guide you through the registration process and tips to get involved if you're not old enough. In the US, young people vote in very low numbers. Mindy Romero of the USC California Civic Engagement Project speaks on this.
It's not because, as the story goes, they're apathetic or they just don't care. They care very much. Rather, it's because our civic and electoral structures are designed in a way that discourages young people from voting, leaving them with a smaller voice in the political process.
With the rise in the use of social media platforms and various movements, millennials and Gen Zers have seen much more than older generations in their young lifetimes. 9/11, 2 economic crashes and record unemployment, extreme weather events, divisive politics, and a global pandemic, and most recently, social unrest in response to the death of George Floyd. Throughout history, young people have driven social change. They've been the spark that has ignited many social movements, which is why it's so important to make sure you're registered to vote, to use your power to affect real change on the issues you care about. If you're a US citizen, meet your state's requirements, and will be 18 by election day, guess what? You can vote. If you've already registered to vote, it might be a good idea to check the details. States perform routine voter list purges to remove people from their voter rolls who have moved to another state, died, or have become ineligible to vote. And if you won't be 18 by election day, that's alright. There are still plenty of opportunities for you to get involved. You can join issues-based organizations you care about. At East, YDC and YRC are good examples of this. And make sure your friends are involved too. Talk to your family members about your concerns. And to make the commitment, pre-register to vote. Before the primary election back in August, the Kansas Secretary of State's office released a turnout projection in which Kansas Secretary of State, Scott Schwab, predicted that an alarming 28% of voters in the state will participate in the primary. And just think, what percentage of those voters were of the younger population? Young people can decide elections, and our participation is crucial to strengthening our democracy. You can create change. Use your vote, use your voice. For more information, visit usa.gov/election office. For the Shawnee Mission East Harbinger, I'm Sydney Williams.
They move us around like we're little pawns on the chessboard.
We are they slaves.
That's right.
Slaves. We still slaves, and we're not free. We free to inhale and exhale the air. We free to go from one plantation to another.
That's it.
Yeah, because if we do anything out of order, what's going to happen? We
got trouble. That's why they build those jail cells.
That's right, baby.
And we only 13-14% of the population in the US. But yet we 72% of the prison population.
And
We
that's not
either we either on in prison, in jail, on probation, on parole, or we on the ankle bracelet.
that's right. And let's not forget that we're non-productive consumers too.
That's right.
Non-productive consumers. We consume everybody's stuff.
That's right.
Everybody,
Everybody come here. They say go to the Black community because they spend money.
That's right. But you know what? See, it's like they always want to put the Black man last. They want to crush the Black man, the
Yeah,
Black people.
they do. They do.
See, they rather crush us because, honey, these immigrants,
Yeah.
you don't know what is over here. Because
No.
if they come first, and
Yeah.
then the folks is out, and they're gonna do
Yes.
everything they can to stay on top now.
That's
So
right.
what you gonna do? You know, uh, my mother said, before it's all over, it's gonna be a civil war.
Oh, I believe it.
That's what she said. It's
I
coming.
believe it. You know what? You should have had your mom come on because
She's gone on. She's
oh,
gone.
I'm so sorry.
Oh yeah, but my dad, oh my God, he was a historian. He
Okay.
loved history. That's who we
Yes.
look today. But
How you doing, sir? How you? How are you? Good to see you.
A long time no speak to.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. How you doing?
I'm okay, and I'm remiss for taking this long. Well,
That's all
I
right. You here today. That's all that count.
okay.
That's all that count. We talking about can women affect change in the way that our youth vote? And if they can, how can we? That's the topic. Because the elections are about to come up, and we need to make sure that our young people understand why it's important for them to vote. Because stuff is happening right in front of our faces. And if we don't start to do something about it, we just gonna be like the garbage. They're gonna be taking us out.
Well, I think the bigger question would be people actually paying attention to what's going on.
Yes.
Uh, Have you heard this rapper called Sexy Red?
Uh-uh. Sexy Red.
Yeah, I don't know anything about it. I've never heard of music or whatever the case may be, but I guess she's prominent enough to get some kind of national attention or whatever. And she was on a podcast, and
Oh.
they were talking in a podcast, and she was talking about how much she loves Trump and all this kind of stuff. And,
Oh.
and, and that Trump was a good guy. He gave us money
Yeah.
and and those checks and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But the big problem with this is first of all, she's totally wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Trump didn't give them anything. Congress gave them that.
Yes.
Okay. And uh, when you don't know how things work, but you think you know how things work,
Yeah.
then you can get misled,
Yes.
and that's kind of the problem, the miseducation of a lot of people, you know.
Oh, you sound like the brother that was on last night. Did you know of let me try to think of his name. His name is Yessi Yahuda. And he used to be the CEO over Forum. Do you remember Forum?
The
Forum was
name,
a big organization that used to have trucks going through our communities to teach our children a variety of different topics. They were like mobile educational trucks. And sometimes they send that truck out and oh, it was, I mean, he was a big Anyway, he got hung up in what they call misappropriation of funds or whatever. And they didn't lock him up, but they put him on house arrest.
Well, sometimes misappropriation of funds is, again, not knowing what you're doing. Not
That's
necessarily you have
that's
larceny.
right.
Right? You just
Yeah,
didn't know that you could do this and do that.
right.
And, you know, uh, when they took civics out of school,
That's
and
right.
uh, that that was a problem.
Yeah.
Back in the day, and I was just talking to another friend of mine, uh, my folks, when I was little, they used to send us, when we got out of school, down south.
Uh-huh.
And we had to, it took us about 2 weeks to kind of adjust to going down south because they do things a lot slower down there.
Oh,
And uh, people speak a little slower and they're more deliberate because one of the things they found out, that we realized is there's not a lot of stuff going on. There's not a lot of distractions down there like you have
okay.
up north,
Okay.
you know. And so people used to come over to each other's house and they sit and talk about stuff, you know.
Oh,
And I think they used to call them salons,
okay.
and they used to speak. They would have a topic of conversation, and everybody go around the room and kind of like put their 2 cents in. And if you were young, you had to shut up or you had to leave. Okay.
Wow.
And because they didn't want your nonsense. You were old enough to be in there, but
Yeah.
you can go empty ashtrays or go get drinks for people. And maybe you might be able to put your 2 cents in after everybody talking, but that's one of those grown folks talking. You got to get out of here.
Oh, I know. That's the way it was when we were kids. Shoot, you couldn't be in no room with adults talking. You better go find yourself a chair somewhere in the other room.
Because kids were a distraction,
That's right.
and then you couldn't speak your mind,
Right.
but everybody back in the day were kind of on the same page because they had the same understanding about stuff and they learned things kind of collectively. Okay.
Right.
Now everybody's independent. It's
Right.
like, for all intents and purposes, everybody just pretty much homeschool themselves about how things work. And that's when they run into how it really works, they're shocked.
Yes, that's
People
true.
always telling you, I know my rights. No, you don't.
No, no,
No,
no,
you
no,
don't.
no. Yeah.
You think you do. And you're interpreting things based off of your particular interpretation. And you find out that that's not the way it go, and then you get your feelings hurt.
Right. Then you get your feelings hurt. Rose, please join this conversation. I got to get my grandbaby out the tub. Will y'all hang on in there? I'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, I'll be right
So
back.
okay. What we have now is a problem where everybody's got an opinion, but nobody really knows how it works. And those who do know how it works find it real frustrating trying to train people. This is what you need to do. This is who you need to talk to, and this is how you have to do it. You know,
Okay.
and and the initial question was, can they motivate young people to do it? Yeah, of course they can. Anybody can motivate young people if they, number one, young people respect them. You know,
Mm-hmm.
if they don't respect them, it's an opinion, and then you know what they say. Opinions are like blank blank. Everybody's got one.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You know, so uh, we have to get back to basics again, and I don't know if we can ever get there anymore because too many people want to do their own thing. Okay, they don't. Nobody belongs to any centralized organizations or clubs like they used to do back in the day.
Yeah.
You had Eastern Stars, you had Rotary clubs, you had
Nate.
I'm not. I'm not going to talk about the churches because the churches is the last bastion where you could do it, and they don't even want to get on the playing field, you know.
Yeah.
And
It's a
they
lot
have
of
a
it's a
reason.
lot of different interferences out there. It's a lot of different influences, I should say.
All
A
right.
lot of different influences.
And distractions. And
Yes.
who do you know? Who do our leaders were kind of more delineated and clearly defined back in the day.
Yeah.
Not so much right now.
Right.
We did all this hoopla about uh, our vice president, and you ain't heard peep from her since she got in.
No, no. I was just reading about her. They identified her as one of the female politicians that can help affect change. And I was just trying to see how they interpreted that.
Well, I mean, they interpreted that by the her position, not by her actions.
Okay.
You know,
All right. Wow, 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 wow. Yeah, she moved right on up the ladder real quick. And I
and then
wonder if that's because she was married to the white boy or because she had the influence from her previous positions. Apparently she did whatever it took to get where she's at.
back in the day, everybody took their marching orders from like NAACP. They took their marching orders from African American Patrolmen's Police League or the Guardians Police Association or whatever other civic group, TWO back in the day. So,
Right, right.
nobody belongs to any of them, but that was when we all knew each other on the block, or at least in the
Right.
building,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
you know. So our whole culture of how we used to do things have changed
Yes, it
now.
has.
And the only influencers are out there are YouTube influencers and TikTok influencers. And
Whoa.
and but and they're just trying to make a name for themselves so they ain't gonna have a real job.
That's right.
You know,
That's right.
and school has become boring to kids because they don't
Yeah,
feel
it's
like they're
very
really
boring
learning
to them.
anything.
Right. And then the children, it's almost like you have to make them go to school because they don't find school interesting. And
And
so
so then,
it's not that they're slow or incapable of learning. It's that you have to make learning interesting.
well, another way to engage somebody is like you can tell them about planting stuff in the ground, but unless you actually do it, it doesn't take on a meaning
That's right.
that's significant enough.
Right.
And they can't see where this is going to be applicable to them.
Makes sense. That makes
And
sense.
so
That makes sense. That makes
so
sense.
I've talked to a lot of high school people who and college people like voting and all this kind of stuff and paying attention to politics. If you was to ask them what are the three branches of power, they couldn't tell you.
Exactly, because they're not interested. They don't see how
That's white
knowing
folks stuff,
that affects them. They don't
right?
see that.
Right. They know when they get and Trump took advantage of that. That's why he was into having his name put on those checks. It's
Ah,
the name of the name is supposed to be the name of the comptroller. It's not
okay.
supposed to be his name. But he
Ah,
wanted to make it sound like it was coming from him. And he
oh,
did this,
well, he was a
And then what
performer.
he did, and as you know, he gave 90% of the lion's share of the money to the corporations.
Of course,
You
because
know,
they're the ones that support what he's doing.
and see, here's the sad part of it. Even in the back of the days, it started with Reagan because when I think when Jimmy Carter was in office,
Uh-huh.
Uh, the tax rate was almost like 70% on the
Mm-hmm.
super rich.
Mm-hmm.
How did it go roll from 70% to 14?
Come on now, because we had people like Trump in office that could help it roll like that. It's so much
Well,
going on
we,
in terms of manipulation. I mean,
we
I'm
should never
sure.
have lobbyists. That's number one.
Lobbyists.
Okay. Because who are lobbyists? They're not voted people, but they're
Right.
people who have ties to money
That's right.
and influence. And what do? They're supposed to catch you in the lobby and talk to you. You know,
Is that
but
right?
that's where they got the name from. You know,
I didn't know that.
let me holler at you for a minute.
Wow.
I'm from
You
so and so.
Wanza. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
You know, uh, so policies are made based off of money. If you look at a Heinz 57 ketchup, everybody used it, everybody knows what it looks like, right?
Right, right, right.
Uh, Go on YouTube and Google Heinz 57 ketchup, United States / Canada.
What?
Okay, you they sell the ketchup all over the world. Ours is the only one that's got the high fructose and all this kind of stuff.
Stop it.
You go to Canada, you get real ketchup. It says it on there. Okay. When you go to the grocery stores and you buy a bottle of Coca-Cola, they got the Mexican Coke right next to it, but it's a lot higher. The reason why it's a lot higher is because it's got cane sugar in it as opposed to high fructose corn syrup and a
Wow.
lot of other preservatives. A lot of foods that they make, they can sell them overseas,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to meet their standards, and they're not having that bullshit. You know,
Okay.
as far as that goes. But they'll sell it to us.
Yes, yes.
They'll sell it to us.
Like they
And,
sell everything else.
right. And why? Because it's cheaper.
It's cheaper.
And
Mm-mm.
that's the bottom line. Money talks, bullshit walks. That's what they always said
That's
back in
what
the
they
day.
said. That's what they
You
said.
know, and the name of the game is, why do these CEOs get these real big, bonuses and all this kind of stuff? It's
Uh-huh.
because they think of new and more innovative ways of squeezing the last amount of money out of people. It was
Wow.
interesting during the COVID and all this kind of stuff when they decided they was gonna. Everybody was happy because uh, the cost of living, the minimum wage was going up to $15,
Uh-huh.
but now all the other shit is done jacked up. So you back where you were,
You're
if not,
back where you are.
if not
So true.
worse,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
if not worse. Between what they call uh, the shrinkage of products, the
Uh-huh.
shrinkflation,
Uh-huh.
and just overall, raising up the price. And they know they can because they can. And they stop people like whistleblowers and all this kind of stuff because when people who find out what's going on, they let people know, they go after 'em.
Yes, yes, that's true.
So
Nah,
I,
life see.
me myself, I love the good old USA. I love what it believe. What it was, the fundamental, what it stands for,
Uh-huh.
not
Uh-huh.
how it is today.
Right.
I really believe everything is sold off. All the brand names that we remember as a kid,
Yes.
uh, Bell and Howell, Kodak,
Yeah,
either they're non-existent or they're owned by outside companies from other
that's right.
countries.
That's
And if
so
we
true.
and unless we have to show the chain where your money's actually going, and and be a little bit more into putting the information. There's information on packaging in other countries that are not here.
Yeah.
Because you need to know where who owns this company, who owns that company, and what's
Right,
their,
right.
you know. Uh, Unfortunately, uh, can it go back? Well, the pendulum always swings both ways, but it's not going to ever go back to the way it was,
Okay.
until some major crisis comes.
Mm. Well, that's usually the way it is.
And
Uh,
I mean, and there's been so much stuff that's been happening, of course, of the last few years, and even this year. A whole bunch of stuff happening. You know,
yes.
you, it, one of the things that kind of slipped through the cracks is that they agreed that there's aliens. Well, we ain't thinking about them right now. you know, they got like, yeah, this is not our stuff. I don't know whose stuff it is.
yeah.
For people from other countries, it's not theirs either, and they're reporting the same kind of stuff. So what's going on? I don't know, but they don't care because it's not about them. It's not about
Yes.
it. That's not what they're focused on.
So true. So true. Well, let me welcome Mr. Lawanza Quins to the show. And
Hey, how you
uh,
doing? Can you hear me?
yes, I can. We're talking about can women affect change in the way our youth vote? And this brother has just been expounding on all the trickery that we've been involved with or exposed to over the years and why uh, things are the way they are. But I think in the end, he agrees that women can affect change in the way that our youth vote because we're the first teachers. So, I mean, if we're awake, if we're conscious, we can affect change. But if we're in la la land, if we got our eyes closed and we're living day by day by what we see and hear, that's been manipulated for us to see and hear, then we probably can't affect change because we don't know what change is. We don't know how to
Yeah,
do it.
yeah, I agree with you. Everything y'all saying. You know, for our sisters to affect change with the youth at the ballot box, well,
Yeah,
it takes more than just getting out there and casting your vote because of
right.
what you heard on TV or may have read online. You got to get civically involved.
Mm-hmm.
At some point in your life, not all the time, but learn something about how the system of government works.
Mm-hmm.
Understand the different branches of government. How when you cast a vote, how is a bill started? A lot of us
Right.
don't understand. I don't remember I learned it. These sort of things. How can we
How's rock?
say we are adequately teaching our young people to vote properly when they don't understand the political process? It's more than
That's right.
just going over that. I
That's
mean,
right.
do they take the time to read? Just don't read about the politics in your state. Hey, find read about what's happening in New York, in
Yes.
Jersey, how Santos has been indicted, a congressman there, and how Menendez, a U.S. senator, Democrat, has been indicted, for corruption. So I mean, these are the ways that they can help us to affect change. Mama, we all need to become more civically astute.
Yes.
So
I agree.
that we can gain from that insight and experience that you have from the wisdom that you've
Yeah.
acquired after all these years. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's the type of romantic, the vision that I have of the sisters.
All right.
to understand your craft. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
And when you know your craft, then you can better teach it to the youth.
that's right. That's right. Makes sense to me. Well, listen, folks, it's past our time to shut this down, so we're gonna do that. And
You was up by what? It's been an hour.
we started at 7, and there was just Rose and I, and then Rose was able to get the brother on the line
Uh,
to assist us and give
Beautiful.
us some insight that he's this look, anytime you can get some insight from a police officer,
Yeah,
you better
well,
listen to what's being
yeah,
said,
we
because
better.
he on the inside and he can really
Oh,
teach us
yeah.
some things that's going on right in front of our face that we have no clue, until it happens to our family member, and then we get involved. When we
Uh-huh.
should be getting involved way before our family member got in trouble. We need to learn how things work
Uh-huh.
And
so that
then
we can
implement them.
affect change and then implement them. Yes, that's the only way we're going to be able to affect change. So I really appreciate you sharing that information. And hopefully we'll be able to share this information so that we'll start looking at what we're doing. Because, see, our children, in my mind, our young people, they don't listen to what we say, they don't read, they look at what we do, and then they try to mock that. So we better be examples of what we should be doing so
I
that we
want
can
to ask you
demonstrate for
something.
them what needs to be done. Yeah,
I
go ahead
want
and
to
ask.
ask you something before I let you go. Now, these young people, they got ears like they're listening, but the question needs to be asked: why don't they feel a responsibility and a desire
Mm-hmm.
to take the information that you share with them and do what we believe is the right thing with it? You know, that's the question. What is it in their immediate environment and around them, these influencers, that detracts them from their path? That's
Mm-hmm.
the question.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Why are these young people fortified with the gumption and desire to want to do something and fulfill a promise or responsibility and see it to its completion or even try? The question is,
Mm-hmm.
why can't they effectively do this sort of thing? What is the problem? What's stopping that? We need to investigate this.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
that's it. And because we got to find this out. Otherwise, we're going to just keep on having the same problem. We got to find out, why is it that we put the information that we know that they hear it. There's no
Yeah,
question that they hear it. I mean, we tried. I mean, I'm 63. And
yeah.
you tried to carry out uh, the rules
Mm-hmm.
and social mores that were taught to you by your parents. And you know what does it cost anybody? It don't cost them anything. why
No.
why can't they fit? What is it about their pride? What is their problem? In their pride stop people from doing a lot of things.
Well, that's big. That's in my mind. That's because they don't really understand what needs to be done. See, it's almost like we're wandering around like pawns on a chessboard. We're being moved over here and moved over there and introduced to this and introduced to that, and we don't understand how the game is played. Everybody's playing the game, making money, but us.
And see, the other side of that coin is a lot of people are, are they moved into this mentality of it's all about me. Okay,
Yes.
we don't do collective stuff anymore. You know, uh, there's no village in their world. You know, I got mine, you get yours. You know, and everybody wants to be a boss, and that's why. Uh, and they're not thinking about the core of all of us. You know, if I make it out, it's up to you to get out.
Yep, and I've heard teachers say to students, "I got my degree. You trying to get yours. So you better pay attention or I'm just going to work around you." Hey folks, yes, I've heard that. I've heard that. Uh let's end this because I got to move on to the next show.
Okay,
So how about I send the invitation out for next week and you guys come join me again and let's see if we can talk up some more realistic stuff that people need to know.
agreed.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. Please, I look forward to it.
And send some prompts to me on what the top
Oh, okay then. Yeah,
guys
we'll
you guys should make some
well,
suggestions
we can
because
talk about what the thing is the big thing is the largest employer in the country is the automakers. A friend of mine has been affected, and the Ford plant is one of the oldest plants where the Lincoln and the Explorer, I think, is made over there on Torrance. So we need to talk about it because that is the largest employer in the country is the auto industry and the what is it, the unions have are on strike right now. So as the economy goes, one of the big indicators of the performance and health of the economy is the big three automakers. So this directly affects us. How black people being dealt with in these in a, with this strike situation? How does that affect us? Hello?
Hello, can you
Yeah,
hear
I
me?
don't know. Yeah, I was talking. Did anybody hear me?
I heard you.
Oh, okay, yeah. But again, that's the big news, is economically,
yeah,
is this strike? The union,
yeah.
American Auto Workers have for the auto, and again, like I said before, the largest employer in the country is the big three automakers in Detroit. Okay,
I,
and so goes the economy. One of the big indicators of the health and the performance of the economy is the production coming out of the big three automakers. And because of this strike, this is something we might want to talk about.
okay, all right. Well, you know what? Text me that just an
Yeah,
outline
yeah,
of
yeah,
the discussion and
yeah.
let's see if we can make that happen.
Okay, sure. In fact, I'm gonna bring a friend of mine. She's an auditor
Okay,
uh, at the Ford plant,
okay,
and see if she may be interested because she's affected by the strike
okay.
in a second or third week. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate everybody attending this evening, and I look forward to seeing you all again next week. Be
Hmm.
blessed.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right. Good night.
Good night.